This is the second video of my review of Aaron Franklin's Masterclass. Last week we did pork butt. If you haven't seen that video yet, click on the link here. This week I'm going to do ribs and specifically spare ribs. He does this whole rack of ribs and I'm going to do it for you guys, following step by step his instructions, and we're going to see how it's going to be. So let me show you how to do it. In his Masterclass video, Aaron uses spare ribs. Spare ribs are bigger and cheaper than the regular baby back ribs because of the higher fat content. Ribs need very little trimming, mainly cut off the sternum, which is tough to eat and full of cartilage. For the rub, use 2 parts of coarse pepper and 1 part of coarse salt and add a little paprika for color. About 1/4 cup of rub is enough for 1 rack of ribs. After applying some mustard as a base, lightly coat the rack of ribs with the rub. For today's smoking session, I'm using FOGO Super Premium. The large chunks of that charcoal will give me a nice long burn on the 6-hour cook at 270 degrees. To stick as close as possible to Aaron's recipe, I'm using Texas post oak wood chunks for smoke. I'm going to smoke these ribs for 3 hours at 270 degrees and spritz them with apple cider vinegar every hour. After 3 hours, combine equal parts of apple cider vinegar and barbecue sauce and work it onto the ribs in a nice even coat with your hands. Let that sauce set by returning the ribs to the smoker for about 10 minutes, and then wrap them in foil and return them to the smoker another 3 hours at 270 degrees to finish rendering all that fat. Once they're done, let them rest for 40 minutes before you enjoy them. Alright guys, we're back. The ribs are done. Eric is back. Thanks for coming again.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
This is the second video of our Aaron Franklin Masterclass review, right? So you were here for last week's video.
I was.
The pork butt. That was amazing, right?
It was so good. It was so good.
You were dreaming about that for days.
The best part was the leftovers the next day.
Right? All right, so today we have ribs. These are spare ribs, and we've cooked these for 6 hours. Also like low and slow, smoked over post oak, just like before. And yeah, let's see. I'm pretty excited. I mean, the other one turned out amazing. I don't see why this isn't amazing. So let's check it out. Another Christmas gift. Christmas came early this year. Look at this. Woo!
Oh wow.
So you have that same Texas style bark, like that salt and pepper, but this has a little bit of barbecue sauce, so it kind of steamed up here, right there in the middle. So I don't do ribs a lot, but you kind of can see the bones here, you know, they're popping out. So that's a good sign. And look, it's like sort of like falling apart, like the meat is already coming off, so it looks pretty good. I think we did pretty good. I think one test you can do is see if the bone slides out when you twist it. Let's use a twist the bone. Oh, there you go. So a little bit of stickiness here on the outside, but it came out pretty clean. So let me try to cut it into. Well, this thing is huge. It's big.
These are what type of ribs again?
Spare ribs. This is from the bottom part of the rib cage. Wow, okay, so super tender. Like, so this one just fell apart. Yeah, let me see this.
Do I need to go with my trusty fork?
Well, I wanted you to pull one out like this and kind of bite on it. You know, some people say you don't want to have ribs like super fall apart tender like that, but you can see also here on this edge, it feels almost like it's a little bit burned, or not burned, but a little bit dry, the meat here, I think. I think maybe it's from the BBQ neck. We did these on the BBQ neck. Maybe that side got a little dried out, you know, a little overcooked.
I mean, maybe it looks like it on the outside, but the inside is certainly moist still.
Yeah.
So let me give this one a try.
Yeah. Oh, this is good. The rib I have from the center here is very nice. Very good.
And the flavor is very similar to last week's flavor. They use the same spices?
Yeah. Yeah, virtually the same. Salt, pepper, a little bit of paprika. Yeah, yeah. The inside here is really good.
Now, I remember last week you mentioned you had to spray it with vinegar. Do you do the same thing with the ribs or no?
Yeah. Yeah, basically exactly the same treatment. Mustard as a base, salt, pepper, paprika, and then every hour spray it with apple cider vinegar. Then after 3 hours, it got wrapped in the aluminum foil basically. And kind of what that does is it slows down that excessive bark. You know, those parts here that are kind of like too dried out, too overcooked. You know, and it helps the rib sort of just steam in its own juices and become like super for the connectivity tissue and all the fat to kind of just render down and become super moist and tender basically. You know, that's kind of what the aluminum foil helps with. Yeah, but I mean, I feel I'm not such a big rib eater, you know, like I never go to a restaurant and order ribs, so I'm not such a great judge on this one. I mean, these middle ribs, look, this one came out pretty good. You know, so we had one here that just sort of fell apart, like too soft. We had one from the end, it's almost like a little bit too burned, too dry. This rib you should have, you know, it looks a bit more like properly cooked. A little bit of consistency to it here. Still a nice bark, but not totally toast. You know, you should try that. Again, you have these like crappy pieces here on the edge.
But some people I think like the extra crispy outside.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like a little different than the middle part.
Yeah, these ribs cooked a bit better. Oh, this one's also fall apart. Well, maybe it's a little overcooked, a little over steamed. You know, a little too mushy.
So then, what would you do? Cook it a half an hour less?
Yeah.
Maybe. Very moist.
Yeah. I think
Really
it's good.
flavor.
But I think it's not my personal flavor. But like I said, I'm not a rib guy. I never order ribs in a restaurant or anything like that. It's not my personal preference. But I mean, it's good, right? I mean,
It's not dry. It has good flavor. It is a little bit loose on the bone, which maybe will make it harder to eat. But you can just take it off the bone and use a fork. So it's really good.
This one just the whole bone just ripped apart here. Here, Juan, do you want to try a little bit? But it's extremely hot. You might want to let it there. This is Juan's portion. Let it sit there for a little bit.
And we have the dogs begging too.
Well, you could have a bit more barbecue sauce. Actually, we're almost out of barbecue sauce. But if you guys want, there's some more barbecue sauce. I think that could add something to this a little bit. I want a bit more sweetness to this. Maybe that's what I'm used to. You know, those commercial ribs you get in a restaurant, they're usually kind of a little bit sweet, maybe overly sweet. But this is a totally different flavor. Maybe that's kind of what I'm fighting with in my head. Like, I'm not used to these. It's almost spicy, you know, very peppery ribs. Yeah, but I mean, it's good. Yeah, for sure. It's very similar to last week, but I liked it better on the pork butt.
It's very good, I guess. If you don't like the spiciness of it, you could change the spice a little bit or make it a little less
use
pepper.
Something different.
But the flavor is amazing.
Yeah.
The flavor is really good, and it tastes smoky, just like last week, but not too much smoke. It's really, really good.
Yeah. All right. As the final review of our Aaron Franklin Masterclass review, we have brisket. It's going to be next week. So tune in again next week. I hope I see you again. And give the ribs a try. You know, if you're into ribs, this is something that you might really enjoy. If you're not into ribs so much like me, you might want to pass it. It's up to you. Let me know in the comments below if you're going to do it. And see you again next week. Thank you.